is our 5th meeting. So thank you guys for continuing to stick in on such a very important topic. And we are going to get started by going over, I'm sorry, let's officially call the meeting to order. It's 9:32. And we'll get started with a roll call. So Jamie Barney is here, Regina DeWitt,
Present.
Jennifer, thank you.
Present.
Tamika Long Cohen, Susan Carville Hutchinson, Karen Freeman Price, Jocelyn Roberts,
Here.
Michael Rosales, Jarnisha Wade, and Nakara Williams. Okay, and so just an update, we previously discussed removing those committee members who have not been present at meetings. And I neglected to put that on the agenda of our last board meeting, but I'll make sure for the next board meeting they're removed, so we won't have a problem with quorum when it's time for us to vote. And also because, we haven't, they have not been, participating. Okay, so for public comment, a public comment period will be permitted for each agenda item requiring a vote from the committee. Members of the public who wish to provide public comment must use the raise hand function to be recognized by the chair. Any one person may provide public comment only once per agenda item. Public comments are limited to 2 minutes per speaker. Public comments are limited to the item being considered. The chair may disregard or terminate any public comment that does not comply with this paragraph. If you are unable to attend the meeting but wish to make a public comment, you can email your comment to edangelo@labswe.org. The email must be received by close of business, March 14th, 2024, and pertain to an item on the agenda. Attendees of the meeting can also obtain general continuing education hours. The number of hours is determined by the length of the meeting. An email regarding continuing education credit will be sent within 30 days following the meeting. Okay, so next we have the adoption of an agenda, but again, since we do not have a quorum, we will not be taking a vote, but we will go forward with the meeting. One of the great ways our board staff have helped us functioning so well is that our meetings are recorded and posted online. So those committee members who are still parts of the committee are asked to watch the meeting they missed so that we're all on the same page when you guys decide you're ready to put support some recommendations. So we have an agenda. Again, we cannot vote on it, but we will go forward as planned. And we don't have anything that requires a vote, so we're okay with that. So we're on item D, which is the information provided by ASWB. So, I'm sorry. Let's stop a second. I didn't take public comments. Because there was something we had, right?
There was one.
Yeah.
It was Consuela Hunter.
Yes. So we received a public comment from a Consuela Hunter via email. It says, in the event I am unable to attend, I would still like to stress the importance and consideration for seasonal LMSWs to be grandfathered into LCSWs who have 25 or more years of experience. It is hard trying to find a job that is even work from home without it stating that we need our LCSW. Also, I think if we fail the test, we should only be allowed to retake the questions failed. Okay, thank you for your comment. Also, I want to open the floor up if we have any members present from the public that wish to give any public comment related to the agenda or the committee.
Deputy Aber has been.
Hi, Ms. Aber, you are recognized.
Good morning. So, I was thinking that if I have taken the exam twice and I have been unsuccessful, and I held my provisional license. So I was wondering that if we don't pass the licensure, if our provisional license could be increased from 3 years to maybe 4 or 5 or 6 until we pass the exam.
Okay. Thank you for your comment
Okay.
/ suggestion.
Kelly Sauls.
Ms. Sauls, you are recognized.
Good morning. How are you?
How you doing?
I'm fine. I also had the same question, but it's similar to the CSW, LMSW. I was calling to see, can they eliminate the 3 years to like 5 or 6 until we pass the test? Because sometimes that lower our pay rate or no job as well. Is there, because if we don't pass it in 3 years, we go back to a registered social work, which is a general social work. Is there any way we can um, implement that some kind of way?
We can, well, we definitely can, take the comment and, committee can, take that into consideration when it's coming up with recommendations.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Barney. Nice seeing you again.
I can't see you, but I hear you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Is that it?
I have one more. Carrie Craven.
Miss Craven, you are recognized.
Good morning. I just wanted to voice the concern. It seems like there's so much research that has shown the disparity among different racial groups and success on the LCSW exam that it doesn't seem like an equitable measure. Also, as a practicing social worker, it just doesn't seem like the most accurate measure of our abilities, our skills in the field. A multiple choice test that does not have more context than a couple sentences about each situation is just not the most accurate. I think it would be a lot more valuable to use hours of supervision and evaluation by an accredited supervisor to recommend or not for that next step in licensure.
Thank you very much for your comment. I'm sorry, I'm trying to write down what you were saying. But thank you very much for your comment.
That's it.
Okay. Okay, so sorry. So now we're gonna go on to the information provided by ASWB. So members of the committee, you should have picked up the information Regina put together for us. So in such an organized manner, the way she does. Thank you, Regina. So we have the first thing I'm looking at is the email from February 16th that shows the full list of states that permit MSW graduate to work under supervision towards the clinical license without first taking the master's exam and obtaining an LMSW. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 20 places located under the column where there's a clinical provisional license, which doesn't require exam, and or has a master's license, which requires the master's exam. And the master's license and exam is not required of pursuing clinical license. Okay, I'm sorry, the end is cut off. I don't know if I'm reading the full part. It's just only a few letters and it's still, okay. As long as we still got the context, that's good. Okay, so on this, where it says the bachelor's license, limited exceptions to exam use. Do you know what that's about, Marjorie? Or anybody? In Louisiana and Nebraska. Oh, okay, I see. So like they have the little notes, like for bachelor's license in Louisiana and Nebraska, bachelor's practice is regulated through a voluntary certification and not licensure? That's not true.
We don't require the exam at the bachelor level.
Right, but a license is required. It's not a voluntary certification. Okay. I'm still wondering though why we're listed there. Limited exceptions to exam use. Okay. And then master's license lists 3 states in Connecticut has a note. In Connecticut, the master's exam is not required and is optional until mid-2026. DPH still approves for the exam. Who is DPH? Is their board? I'm wondering. Okay, and then in Utah, the bachelor's and master's exam is not required and is optional. DOPL still approves for the exam. Okay. And then in Illinois, there's 7. State has an alternative path for individuals who take the clinical exam at least once, an additional period of supervision. Okay, so this is the information on other ways states are offering persons to obtain licenses. But I'm a little concerned. I don't know how big of a deal it is that it's saying Louisiana doesn't, the bachelor's practice is regulated through a voluntary certification, because that's not accurate. So it's making me kind of concerned about the accuracy of the other alternative pathways, because of course, well, not of course, but Louisiana is the state I'm familiar with, and so, okay. But it's still great information, and it may just be a misunderstanding on that part, so I don't want to imply that it's, none of it's just accurate, but that definitely. We require licensure in Louisiana. We just don't have to take the ASWB exam on a bachelor's level. It's not a voluntary certification. Okay, so we also received a memorandum from Kara, follow-up from the February 16th meeting of the exam committee. And so let me kind of go over it, which I know the members of the public don't have access to this, and we just got it. And so I know everyone hasn't had a chance to review it. So the memo follows the February 16th meeting of the exam committee. ASWB appreciates the opportunity to provide additional information and are happy to answer any questions we may have. The ASWB Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Stacy Hardy Chandler, is available to present to the committee on the exam development process and current exam initiatives, and to discuss items of interest in more detail. So this memo includes attachments on the social work census, ASWB exam initiatives, ASWB supports for test takers, pass rate differences for social work degree programs. I share data from schools with no pass rate differences for historically marginalized groups. What are they doing differently to help prepare students for licensure? That is in part what we are wanting to understand through the research we are funding at Western Kentucky and Howard universities, as well as research being conducted by independent researcher contracted with ASWB Dr. Joy Kim and her team with Rutgers University. These efforts are discussed in the handouts on ASWB exam initiatives. There's also a discussion of pass rate differences reported by the few professions who have published exam performance data, which shows similarly troubling disparities in pass rates. This suggests that larger societal factors stemming from anti-Black racism and systemic inequities are responsible for differences in performance by various demographic groups on licensing exams. The answer isn't to eliminate exam requirements, but to understand factors impacting pass rate differences and initiate supports to counter these deficiencies. The section of, and so another bullet, another thing attached, the section of Minnesota law creating a provisional license for foreign-born applicants who are English language learners is provided at the end of the document. I think that's what you were referencing, last time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. Okay, so the social work census is the largest social work workforce study ever conducted in the US and Canada. You can go to ASWB's website to see about it. The survey runs from March until the end of May. However, it will take some time to analyze the findings and make suggestions for updated competence assessments. I know that was one of the questions we had outstanding from the last meeting, was how long before we get some information back from the social work census? Cause this is pretty much getting an idea, as I understand it, getting a clear idea of what social workers are actually doing in the field and what is necessary to do that, which is an important part of making these decisions regarding exam requirements and what should be on exams, and making sure it's actually preparing the persons in the profession or a true assessment of their preparation. Okay, so, and if y'all have anything or any questions, y'all please stop me, but I know the public doesn't have this, so I'm trying to just kind of say what we're looking at. So the ASWB exam initiatives, information was provided previously on those exam initiatives, and a handout is included that summarizes the current initiatives. They also note the exams are reliable, valid, and involve a psychometric process that follows industry standards, developed jointly with the American Educational Research Association, American Psychological Association, and the National Council on Measurement in Education. And again, note that the CEO is available to present to us to discuss initiatives further if it'll be helpful. And then some supports for test takers. So there's study material, so there's an ASWB examination guidebook. It's a free study guide. It includes a study plan template, reference lists, complete content outlines for exam categories, including the knowledge, skills, and ability statements, sample screens from exam software, and sample questions from each exam category with the correct answer and explanation. There's online practice tests available through SWB at a cost of $85. So these practice tests for candidates registered to take associate, masters, bachelors, or clinical exams, with the only practice test offered by ASWB. Candidates can complete the online practice test one time, review all the questions in any of the content areas, or only review the questions that were answered incorrectly. Access the practice test for 30 days to review the questions, answers, and rationales, and take 4 hours to take a 170 question practice test one time. Then there's test taking support, Fifth Theories Test Mastery Inclusion Program. I don't know if I gotta slow down with the T's, but I don't trust myself with them. So ASWB acknowledges that the personal and educational experiences that test takers bring to the exam may affect how they perform on exam day. And so are committed to offering resources that may improve equity and opportunity. So during the pilot phase, test takers who are unsuccessful will receive an email inviting them to complete the fifth theory's validated self-assessment. If they choose to participate, they'll receive an individualized report with information and insights they can use to prepare for their exam retake. Test takers will also receive a test mastery coaching guide, which is a guided journal and access to a self-interpretation online seminar and positive affirmation audio files. ASWB will solicit feedback from users during this pilot phase of the initiative to understand its value, and ASWB will publish findings of this pilot program early next year. And so there was a link to read more about that. There were some free resources for educators, which is a link that's available on ASWB website, and this includes detailed reports on student pass rates broken down by demographic groups, an educator guide to the social work exams and an educator training, and then the information on social work degree programs. Pass rate differences for reported demographic groups may vary across degree programs. Some programs show limited differences as copied below. The selected reports and reports for all CSWE accredited social work programs are available on the ASWB website. So let me look at this. Summary report for all first-time test takers. So this is, the following information applies to individuals taking the licensing exams for the first time in all ASWB member jurisdictions in 2022. And the pass rates are most representative for groups if there's at least 200 candidates. And so the advanced generalist group only has 116 categories. For the masters, okay, so in Louisiana, we have a master's in the clinical exam, so I'll focus on those. For the master's exam, there were over 20,000 exams administered, and the 2020 pass rate was 72.1%. And for the clinical exam, there were over 18,000 tests administered, and the pass rate is 74%. And then she gave us the information on the schools that didn't demonstrate disparity. So San Diego State University was one of those included, and there were 18 Black persons who took the clinical exam, 99 Hispanic persons, 39 Asian persons, 19 persons multiracial, and 217 white persons. And so the pass rate of the persons that identified as white were 98%. So again, that's 217, pass rate 98%, Asian 39%, 39 people, pass rate 92%, Black 18 individuals, pass rate 88%, Hispanic 99 persons, pass rate 93%, and multiracial 19, and they had a pass rate of 100%. And then there were 11 persons who preferred not to say, and their pass rate were 81%. The other example is by the University of Berkeley. So they had 162 white persons take the exam. And this is from 2018 to 2021, each school. Yes. So 162 white persons had a 100% pass rate. 37 Asians had a pass rate of 94%. 23 Blacks had a pass rate of 91%. 49 persons who identified as Hispanic had a pass rate of 93%. And 15 multiracial persons pass rate of 93%. And then 12 persons who prefer not to say had a 100% pass rate. So, okay. Then we have University of Kentucky. They had 299 white persons. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay. I thought I missed something, but those have been clinical exams. For the master's exam, they had the San Diego State University and University of California, Berkeley had such a small number of persons who were minorities who took the test that there are no percentages of pass rates available for those persons. But for white persons at San Diego State, those 29 persons had 100% pass rate on a master's exam. And at University of California, those 26 white persons had a 96%. But that information isn't available because it's a small pool. Now, when you get to University of Kentucky, there were 375 white persons with a pass rate of 88.5%. And with Black persons, it was 64, pass rate of 70%. And then there were persons who were Asian, 84%, 13 people, Hispanic, 19 people at 89%, multiracial, 11 people at 81%. So it looks like if it's less than 10, they don't give you the percentage. Yes, if it's less than 10, they don't. Okay. University of California, and I'm sorry, then for the clinical at University of Kentucky, there were at University of Kentucky for the clinical exam, there were 299 white persons that had a 94% pass rate. And there were 38 Black persons who had a 78% pass rate. I don't think I'm reading this wrong, but this is not, okay. University of California, okay, because this is supposed to show that there are not disparities at other schools, right?
For the most part,
Uh,
for the most part, it's not, it's just a lower pool number of test takers for like minority groups, but I'm not gonna, I mean, they're doing awesome as far as like their passing rates.
Yes, their pass rates are good, but there is, but there is still disparities as well. I mean, they're not as significant.
Mhm. As far as for which one?
There's not as significant, like, so at San Diego, there's some disparity. So for instance, the biggest disparity in Louisiana is amongst those persons who are Black and white, right? So I'm just gonna use those examples for the sake of this discussion, so it don't get confusing with all these numbers.
Okay.
So at San Diego, there were only 18 Black persons who took the clinical exam and they had an 88% pass rate. There were 217 white persons and they had a 98% pass rate. So there was still a 10 percentage point disparity.
Right.
And there were only 18 persons who took the exam.
But they still score above the national
Yes.
average.
But the disparity still
still
exists within that
exists, right.
institution. I think that was what the discussion was, like there are some schools who don't have a disparity.
Right.
And that's, as I was saying, like I didn't see any, so I was excited to see which schools did not. So it doesn't seem as significant, but it's still there.
But the pool is smaller in comparison to like 500.
And not only that, but none of these appear to be HBCUs because schools with the larger minority group. These appear to be PWIs from looking at the numbers.
These are top schools.
Mhm.
And they probably are harder to get into, so, okay. Well, but it's still great information,
Right.
but it doesn't,
But at least they passing above the national average.
yes, they're
So-
doing a good job.
Yeah, they're doing an awesome job.
So I don't see the other schools that I haven't read out loud. I don't see anyone where there isn't a disparity or there's a significant number of persons who are not white.
Did they give out the outliers of? Because by face value, I would think that Suno and Grambling would fall closer to being an outlier as far as like with the data points. Because if you're passing at 100, Tulane was passing at 90 for overall score points. But when you're talking about outliers, it's like significant, like on one side, what is someone doing that's helping them to pass? And then on the alternative side of being the outlier, when you go to the lowest of numbers, what else is going on outside where you're so far off from that national average number? What are some other factors that can possibly be occurring that's affecting
Right.
for people passing.
And so that's why hopefully we are able to get some good responses specifically from those schools you're referencing. Because, you know, when we reached out to the stakeholders, we did reach out to the programs that have master's level programs. And they all reported that they intended to share information or get back with the staff and give some information. So for those who didn't submit something in writing, which we do have a few, hopefully they're able to speak to it here. And if not, you know, I still would be happy to hear from them at a later date. But from ASWB's perspective and the information we've gotten today and what we've heard from them before, they think other factors in society that impact, that have more of a negative impact on minority groups are what's impacting the disparity that's reflecting the test. Like they pretty much, from what I gather, are saying, the test is a the disparity in the test that we see in the test results is a reflection of the issues we have as a society.
Right.
And all the barriers that those groups face. They don't, you know. Okay, so this goes on to give some information on Minnesota's provisional licensure. So an applicant may be issued a provisional license in Minnesota if they were born in a foreign country, communicating English as a second language, have taken the applicable exam administered by ASWB or a similar exam designated by the board, and has met the requirements of, and they list specifically where to find it, and it takes a bunch of lines. And complies with the requirements of some other subdivision. So a provisional license is valid until expiration, or until the board issues or denies a license, or until the board revokes the provisional license, whichever occurs first, and it expires 3 years after the effective date of the license. A licensee who has issued a provisional license must comply. They pay a fee. They have supervised practice requirement. They are evaluated by a supervisor. They have to submit an evaluation every 6 months during the first 2,000 hours of social work practice. After completion of 2,000 hours of supervised social work practice, the supervisor must submit a final evaluation and attest to their ability to engage in the practice of social work. Okay.
That goes back to the question that the person had. Is that correct? If you complete the 2,000 hours, or is this in addition to? So what she was asking is if you're provisionally licensed.
And you can extend it more time.
And then you have the amount of hours, can somebody say, can your clinical supervisor say yea or nay that this person is?
Yes. So there were two things. So you talking about the email one?
The comment, the public comment.
Okay, so with the public comment, she was saying instead of the provisional license expiring after 3 years, let's make it 5 years or 6 years.
Okay, and then, but there was another comment.
The comment that was written was talking about grandfathering people in after a certain number of years of practice.
Oh, but she also she said hours of supervision towards licensure, approval from supervisor with a yea or nay towards clinical licensure was I think the second comment that came in. So is that what Minnesota is doing?
So yes, that's what Minnesota's doing, but this is for people who have English as a second language specifically.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was when, last time, when Jocelyn was bringing up what's the name of the people?
I don't want to mispronounce
Okay.
it. HMONG, yeah.
Mhm.
And so this is what that information, this is what they're doing to address the issues there. With people who don't have English as a first language. Okay, so thank you very much for,
So thank you.
Yeah, for that comprehensive memo. And then we also have the handout from ASWB. Has information on offenses. empowering all applicants to help them succeed. So commitment to evolving competence measurement. Okay, so this is all of the work they're doing to do that. And then, demographic segmented pass rates for the social work exam are in line or exceed other major professional exams and vary based on the ranking of the school. So let me see these bullets. So there's an array of factors that contribute to the pass rate differences across key demographics, including race. For example, for Black test takers who attend a Bachelor of Social Work program ranked in US News and World Report's top 20% of educational institutions, the pass rate is 74%. And for Black test takers who attend the bottom 20% of ranked bachelor programs, the pass rate is 25%. And then ASWB has some independent researcher with a team at Rutgers University, that's Dr. Joy Kim, and they're doing further policy analysis to understand specific variables that influence disparities in exam pass rates. And so this is some information across other professions. So ASWB, first time clinical exam, 2018 to 2022. There's 83% white persons who pass, 43% Black persons, 64% Hispanic, and 71% Asian. For the bar exam, first pass rate for 2022, white pass rate 85%, Black 61%, Hispanic 72%, Asian 79%. And then they give information on National Council on Teacher Quality, US medical licensing exam, and public accounting, and they all demonstrate disparities. Okay. So thank you again. ASWB has been very forthcoming with providing this committee information when we've requested it. Thank you very much, Kara. And does anyone have any questions or comments on this information?
Question on the online practice test.
Online practice test.
It was in the initial.
Okay, yes.
Yes. So I know when I studied, for my exams, it took me 3 months, like I set out 3 months of study time. So I'm wondering, with the access into practice test for 30 days to review the questions, answers, and rationales, is there a way that that material can be printed, or does it just disappear after 30 days? So if you're paying $85, are you able to access the information through like a PDF form to print out? Or again, will it just wipe away? Because I'm thinking about, for me, for 30 days, that may not be enough time for me to access questions and the rationales.
Mhm. So we can definitely check back with Karen
Okay.
and get that information, because it's been a minute since I took that test.
And I need
And I
to.
did not use that, so I'm not sure, so I don't know.
I-
I know some people who have used it, and I cannot recall.
Yeah, I know I used another set, and it was like a hard book. So I was able to keep going back to it, back forth from it.
Okay. All right, anything else with this information?
But you're not making a motion. It's up to you if you want to entertain them.
So I will leave that up to you guys. Do you want to hear?
I would like to.
Yeah, so we can take, we'll take about, let's take 10 minutes for public comments, because we do still have some other things on the agenda, so we'll take up to 10 minutes. And please, guys, keep your comments currently to the information that we just discussed about ASWB and the information that was provided.
Bergie, Jackson, McKinley.
Okay, you're recognized. You say Jackson McKinley?
Mhm.
You're recognized.
She's muted.
Please unmute yourself. Okay, let's.
Alright, then we've got.
Hello.
Is this?
That's Virgie.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I hope everybody's doing fine this morning.
Yes.
I just received my license a few days ago, through Louisiana, as a registered social worker, and hearing some of the comments causes me some concern because, according to the statistics, I guess you would refer to them as being read, um, who's passing the test and who's not for their license is of grave concern because it seems like the Black races are a little bit lower than the other races are. So I'm trying to find out if the problem has been isolated in order to help those that are having difficulty with passing for their license been addressed. Are there certain things that they can use to help them to pass that exam without having to take it over and over again?
Okay, thank you very much for your comment. So ASWB, that was the information we were reviewing, is the things they have added to help while more research is being done on this issue, and then that's one of the reasons, it is of great concern, and that's one of the reasons this committee was formed. Okay, so do we have any other hands? Okay.
Ashley Lane.
Ashley Lane, you're recognized.
Hi, I work at ASWB. I'm filling in for Kara Sander today. I'm a licensed master social worker and I work very closely with her. I just wanted to speak to the question about printing the answers on the practice exam. For confidentiality reasons, we only offer one version of every single level of exam for the practice exam that we offer. So there would be no option to print those answers just because we wouldn't want applicants to share those responses with other people.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, of course.
Michelle Livermore.
Hi, Dr. Livermore.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Thanks for letting me speak. I'm Michelle Livermore, and I am from LSU. I'm the director at Louisiana State University. And I have been having conversations with a number of different groups about the issues related to the ASWB exam, NAD, task force nationally. We talked a lot in the School of Social Work and also the IOC licensing exam subcommittee. And specifically reacting to the letter from the ASWB, I guess it was the director you said, there seems to be an assumption that because there are structural issues that put certain groups at disadvantage, that that's somewhere outside of the exam itself. And the discussions that ASWB has related to validity and discussing it as it's the same that the APA does and these other exams and AERA, they consult with them, does not mean that there's no bias in their exam. It just means that the ASWB exam is perpetuating the bias that is in society. And as social work, to me, that's appalling. We should be above what society is doing to people. We should be questioning it. I put in the chat for y'all, I know the audience, the public cannot see it, some references of some studies that talk about the problems with the validity of the test. One's published and one is under review right now. And I want us to talk about exam disparities. When you have schools that have very high pass rates, it could potentially be selection bias from a research perspective. I know that at LSU, when we had a GRE requirement for people to get in, our exam rates were a lot higher. When we removed that specifically to make our program more accessible to everyone, not just people that were trained up from when they were young to be good test takers, that our exam pass rates went down. As a university, we are committed to making sure all of our students do well, and we've taken a number of actions since we've seen the data from ASB to remedy that and to try to improve any disparities that are potentially there. But ASWB cannot simply push the disparity onto society and raise their hands and say that that's fine. There's a need for other researchers that are psychometricians to work with them. There's a need for at least a subset of social work researchers to be able to audit what they're doing, because sound bites and pretty graphic website and reports that are vague and summary reports they're not auditable, and we are not able to see what's actually happening. And so I would just ask throughout this process for ASWB, as well as all school social workers and all social workers, to just ask at every turn, what is happening that we are not treating people equal? If there's inequality at the end, we have to do everything that we can at every level to fix it. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. And I just want to say for the record that Dr. Livermore was one of the persons that we requested feedback from, so that is why I gave her the opportunity to speak as much, because she's a little further down on the agenda to share her thoughts as a stakeholder. Okay. Do we have any other hands?
Will Francis.
Okay. Mr. Francis?
Yes, good morning. This is Will Francis from National Association of Social Workers Louisiana chapter. I would just like to really thank this committee and everyone from the public who's spoken. I think this is such an important issue, and just really appreciate you all focusing on it. I'd like to speak a little bit later in the agenda to the compact, but as to this issue, I appreciate you all really trying to see how you can work through the statute for solutions. And I think some of our recommendations would be that while I know that the statute itself requires a fee for reexaminations, I think if there was any way to make that fee nominal, say maybe $1 or something just of a very small nature, so that those who do fail do have the opportunity to take it again at minimal cost. I think that puts a huge burden on disproportionate populations. One second, buddy. Sorry, the spring break here. And then I again, as I'm going to speak about the compact, a qualifying national exam is something that is sort of baked into this larger growth of social work across state lines. But I would really encourage states to work with ASWB to see if ASWB can create some form of qualifying national exam that is not multiple choice as this one is, and is an alternate means that pulls up experience, that looks into alternative ways. I think ASWB really has the ability to create a new type of test that would suffice and maybe be a parallel process or replace this current test. And that if states really look, especially since they contract and utilize ASWB as the resource for that, to get them to push into that, I think that is a way for states to really see how we can move away from this current test and yet still have something that satisfies the examination requirements that are there in so many state statutes across the country. So thank you for letting me speak this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chantel Francis.
Okay.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Hi. So when I joined the conference call and I heard something about and I just kind of wanted to get clarification on I heard about being grandfathered in if you have had your degree for so long and hadn't passed. Like I graduated from SUNO in 2012, taking the test 4 times and still struggling to pass. So I just kind of wanted to get some clarification on that.
Okay, when you first logged in, you probably heard either a comment from an email we read from someone who submitted something making that suggestion, or from one of the public, from the public. But so that's not something that we currently have on the floor, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, yes, ma'am. That's what I was asking. I just was kind of getting clarification. So thank you.
No problem.
Troyland Brown.
Okay, Troyland Brown, you're
Hi,
Hi.
good morning. Good
Morning.
morning. How are you doing today? How you guys are doing today?
Good.
I've been listening and I've been sending stuff through the email, but I agree with Dr. Livermore. Maybe ASW need to check their reliability of the test. I graduated in 2008. The first time I took the exam, I didn't worry about taking the exam because I'm a business owner also, so I focus more on my business. I took it in 2014, not knowing that when I took it then, I was actually only about 12 or 14 points away from passing. But I didn't go back and take it again. I said, well, okay, I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm gonna focus on my business. I have a childcare business. And I said, well, I'm just focused on that. So I ended up taking it again last August. And I missed it by 25 points. So I was told that there are different types of tests. And I don't know if the as far as the numbers or whatever are different, because in 2014 was the first time I took it. And I think maybe if I would have taken it again, I probably would have passed it. But because I didn't focus on it anymore and I just focused on my business this time in August, and I studied, I paid for some other outside information like $295. I mean, I studied day and night, staying up late, and I was disappointed that I didn't pass it the second time, even though there was a big time frame in between. So I'm like, okay, go back to focusing on the business. But at this point, I've been in the field of childcare for like 30 years now, and I'm ready to do something different. And I said, well, you know what? Dust off that master's you have and go for that. But now it's like, I don't know, maybe I just want to go back to school and get another degree in something else.
Okay. Well, thank you
So,
for sharing. I'm sorry.
so my thing is, like other states, they let you get a job, you get that training, and then you take an exam. So my thing was, how can I take an exam? That exam is strictly probably just book knowledge. I don't know, or if it's actually clinical knowledge, but I don't have no clinical knowledge. I don't have none of that. So to me, it would make more sense in Louisiana for MSWs to get the job, get so many hours of clock training, and then take the exam if need be. Then take the exam because you'll be well prepared. You'll be more prepared.
Okay.
You have more stuff under your belt, more training, more understanding of everything. And then you should be required to take the exam.
Yes, ma'am. So I'm sorry to cut you off, but thank you so much for your
Okay, no
comment.
problem.
Okay,
Thank you.
and so we're going to go on with the agenda. And then when we get to stakeholder responses, if we have any other persons that we requested a response from, we'll open back up to that. And then the same, if we have time at the end of the meeting for more public comments, we'll take more. Okay, so update on the interstate compact. Sorry. Update on interstate compact. And so is that, I'm sorry?
Will Prince?
Yes. And so, Will, I know you have your hands full, but if you wanted to provide an update now.
Yes, can you all hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, sorry, thank you. Apologize, I'm juggling small people over here. Yes, so the Interstate Compact the bill has been sent over to the Legislative Council for drafting. We are waiting on having that back. We have secured sponsors in the House and the Senate. We're waiting on releasing those names until we have the bill officially all set to go. But I've been told that it should be either potentially today, but I'm assuming the very beginning of next week since it is Friday today. but we are set on that. We have created some one-pagers. We have created advocacy. We'll be posting all of that on our website, which I can share with y'all to pass out to the public who are interested in it. Would love questions. We hosted a town hall a few weeks ago where we had the Council of State Governments attend. We had the lobbyists from NASW, Searsucker Strategies attend. We took questions and had a wonderful, really robust discussion. We have released that recording online if anybody is interested in it. And then again, as I shared, as it relates specifically to this committee, the compact itself does include language on a qualifying national exam. So there are right now some requirements in the compact itself, which would require, again, it is broad. It does not say ASWB exam. It says qualifying national exam. There is an ability for the compact council, which would be created after 7 states have ratified the compact, to create rules that would potentially allow for alternative methods. So I think this committee, and we will definitely continue to update y'all on that, would be very interested in how the alternatives could be created. And the important piece of the puzzle is that once Louisiana does ratify the compact, they then have members on the council itself. And so they could be there and shaping any alternative methods to examination. But I do want to be clear, and I don't want to hide it at all, that the compact does have language on an exam right now and does require that the exam itself must be passed to obtain that multi-state license. And if you'll have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, I do have a question. Can you please speak to if that is by each license level? For instance, does it specifically say for bachelor's level or RSW that they pass a qualifying exam, and LMSW and LCSW, or it speaks to each separately?
Yes, that is a great question. And the compact language does require an exam. Each of it has a distinction for 3 separate licenses: a bachelor's, a master's, and a clinical license. And each section does require a qualifying national exam. So it does require one for each of those licenses. And I will just share, states do have leeway in this method. A state may choose to make all licenses in their state compact accessible, or they may choose to create a compact license and then have a different license for in-state that may have different requirements to it. So there is some flexibility at the state level on how licenses allow practice either within or outside the state. But to receive a multi-state compact license, each level would need to pass an exam.
Okay. Okay, so just to make sure I got it. So in Louisiana currently, like a bachelor's level does not have to pass the exam. This is not going to mandate that people with the RSW pass an exam in order for an LMSW to participate in the compact.
Well, yes and no. If someone has not passed the exam, then they cannot participate in the multi-state compact license, but they could still practice within Louisiana. It does in no way with this compact step over or impinge upon current statute or rules that allow for practice within the state. It is only the external ability for a bachelor's person to practice that would be impeded if they did not have the exam.
Right, but in Louisiana, the LMSWs in Louisiana would be able to participate in a compact and practice in another state, even though in Louisiana, our RSWs don't pass the test. Like it can,
Correct.
they don't all, it isn't an all or nothing type thing.
Correct, exactly. As long as you have the passage of the qualifying national exam, that is what counts.
Okay.
And I know I know it's slightly outside this committee's jurisdiction. I'm happy to get into it later. There are some other requirements on background checks and other things, but Louisiana meets those requirements. And so really, once and if the compact is passed, it then would fall to the Louisiana Board of Social Worker Examiners to really determine the best possible way for Louisiana to then allow licenses to enter into that compact.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions for Will? No, okay. All right, so we're moving right along to stakeholder responses regarding examination. So we've heard from Dr. Livermore, and we've heard from Will Francis with NASW. And I have something from, okay, so we received via email from Emily George Tilley, who's the president of the Greater Baton Rouge Association of Black Social Workers. She says, good evening. On behalf of Greater Baton Rouge Area Association of Black Social Workers, we would like to provide a question regarding the ceasing of the LMSW exam. I know that in the past there was discussion of this, but I'm not sure where we stand as a state on this examination. I know for myself personally, I struggled with the exam, and for several of my peers and colleagues, they are also having barriers as it relates to the LMSW exam. Please take into consideration ceasing the LMSW exam in the near future. It is a professional hindrance for many social workers of color, as majority of the individuals who struggle with this exam per ASWB statistics are people of color. I thank you for your time and efforts to work in the best interest of our profession. Respectfully submitted, Emily George Tilley. Okay, MSW, MPA, LCSW Banks. All right, and then Will spoke, but he submitted something in writing in case he was unavailable, but he spoke to that. And that is it. So do we have any, I think you were able to see who we sent it to. If we have any stakeholders who we submitted a request from on their thoughts regarding the exam, can you please indicate if you're available to speak to us today?
Many hands raised.
Okay, and so let me see. So we sent, so we sent some correspondence to Jacqueline Garrison with Grambling, with Sherry Duffy at Louisiana Christian University, Michelle Livermore with Louisiana Association of Clinical Social Workers, Rebecca Chason with the Millie M. Charles School of Social Work, Dean Bordnick with Tulane University. We spoke to Will. The New Orleans. Okay,
A hand raised from Jennifer Savage. Is she one of?
the name sounds familiar. Why do I? Yes, we can check in because that name is very familiar sounding right now. And Ms. Savage?
I'm here.
Yes, ma'am. You're recognized.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple of quick comments I did not anticipate making. I was just curious about where we are. I'm retired twice and now doing Talkspace telehealth, so very interested in the compact, also interested in the testing. Dr. Livermore, my word, she's right on the money as to what we should do, and I hope that we would form a coalition that would address that, perhaps through the Louisiana Association of Clinical Social Work, which I didn't know we had. So I know I need to join that. So there we go. Anyhow, I would say that the ASWB, NASW, and our licensing boards all need to get on board with what Dr. Livermore is talking about, because I know I, in researching this accidentally through a supervisory situation, just learned that there was no consistency, and it seemed that there was no updating of current information, like from the ASWB exam. some things seemed dated, questions seemed inconsistent in formulation. None of that is conducive to all of our students, regardless of their background, whether regardless of the school they went to, regardless of their race or ethnicity, class level, any of that we need to have consistency so that everyone has an equal chance to be able to pass that exam. And the reason I'm concerned about that is because I'm now supervising pro bono in my retirement, one student, and we've gone through the exam. She's taken it 11 times. Can you imagine that? 11 times. And in the last 4 or 5, she's missed it by 1 point. And she's a Black woman, young Black woman who works for HSA here in Monroe. So there's no sense in that, to be that close and not be able to pass that. But I think it's because there's not been any consistency. There's been no standardization of the test. And perhaps that's where we might end up going with the national qualifying test, that every state who does a national compact would include, instead of their own state licensing law, except for where they would want to include perhaps a separate exam that has to do with their state laws that they expect a social worker to comply by. Certainly child welfare would be part of that. Medicine would be part of that, et cetera. So go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to cut you off, but thank you for your comment. We're limiting comments to 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. Quite fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask something
Yes.
before? Okay. To the point that she said, and I'm not sure if ASWB answered this already, but who are the people that they're tasking to do the questions? Cause I came across like a Springer Publishing group that are looking for LMSWs or LCSWs to formulate questions. So do we have that data in terms of who are the people that are
Writing the
writing the questions for the examination?
ASWB, I think that they have it on their website right now.
Okay.
They're test writers.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I don't know if it was while at a board meeting. I remember seeing that came up. So I know that information is there about the test writers.
Last time I checked on their page, it is,
Okay.
yeah. My concern is, the current, practice test that's, so I'm gonna piggyback, so I'm just doing like gray matter research and joining like some of the Facebook groups that are practicing and studying for the test. And so a lot of them are saying that either the study material that they're getting is not reflective of what the test is. And I know that's not necessarily ASWB because they're not citing, they're using specifically their test material. They're talking about other test materials that they're purchasing. And so if it's not standardized to the sense of, if I can sit there and write a test material, but I don't have any knowledge of what the test really consider, what it entails, am I doing justice for the community at large, for social workers? And if they're purchasing these things and they're not able to pass it, is that also a factor that can play into them not being able to pass the test?
Yeah. Right.
And I know for our CEUs, you have to get approved in order to host a CEU. And then I think when I was looking at ASWB board, they have a section of theirs where it's, if you want to do CEUs through them, you have to go through so many standards to do it. So I'm just wondering if we continue to keep the test. I'm not saying that I'm one way or the other at this point, but if we continue to keep the test, at least for the test practice part of it, for those who are building these test practice, is there a way to get them through like the same way we do for CEUs, where you have to register and follow certain guidelines and have your test to look a certain way for the practice test. I may be thinking too far ahead, but I'm just thinking it's a disadvantage to the general public.
Okay, so say that again. So you say if we keep the test,
Mhm.
can we have like persons who don't pass it? Or what are you saying?
The companies that are building the test practice,
Uh-huh.
is there a way to get them, I don't know the correct way of putting it, but in a way that if I want to host a CEU, I have to apply to the state board and you guys have to approve me to say yes, because I'm following certain criteria.
Mhm.
So is there a certain criteria that can be set for the individuals who are building the test and to see if their materials is conducive to someone passing?
Oh, like so people who are selling practice tests,
Mhm.
make sure pretty much their practice test is in line with.
With ASWB standards.
Well, I don't, no, I don't see how, cause that's like private industry type stuff.
Okay.
So, yeah, we wouldn't have the authority to
To do
tell someone.
So it's just.
Like I could go make a practice test right now and just say Jamie Barney's social work practice exam.
So if someone is using a practice test and it's not helping them.
It's more so like, I think more of where we have some influence is making sure people know of like the practice exams that are in line with the test.
Cause I think it's.
And I don't know, I don't think we had authority to, you know what I mean? But it's like, I think that, cause anybody can make a test and we have no authority to tell them they can't.
Right, but I think the consensus is, cause I know when I took it, I guess I didn't think of it in the sense of, I just thought of it as, study material to study for this exam. So it should be reflective
You're
of
trusting the
when,
source,
yeah, I'm trusting the source of it. So it should be reflective of what I'm going to take the examination for. And especially if we're talking about public safety, and I know it deals with us working for social work, but I mean, we have to sit here and take a test. Why is it just so much of an open market for anyone to come in to write a prep test that has nothing to do with the test that we're actually taking?
Well, that's in any, I'm not saying I think it's right.
No,
But
right.
that's in any profession. Like I could go make a dentistry study test right now and just say, hey, if you wanna be a dentist, you need to pass
So is
my study
is
exam.
there clarification that we can at least give to the social workers to let them
When
know?
you say we.
I mean, okay, right.
You know what I mean? Like you.
I don't know if it needs to come from a school or from what, but it's just like the educational, I mean, because we're social workers, so a part of us is either educating, psychoeducation. So if it's knowing that, hey, yes, there are test materials that exist out there, but they may not align with what
Right.
what you can be studying, so you need to
So
be
maybe that's
taught.
something the schools can do.
Yeah.
It's like,
To
give
educate,
information.
yeah.
And even if you're not saying, if you're not endorsing a specific product.
Yeah.
You can just
Just
remind people to
general-
be careful
yeah,
about what
general
you, like, just
education.
because someone is selling something, that does not mean it's
It's
good.
going to align,
Right.
and yeah. But it doesn't mean you have to endorse a product or down the product either.
Right.
Right, so like buyers beware.
Right, right. Well, there's no limit law here with
Right.
exam study material, so whatever you bought, that's what you got.
But,
Unfortunately.
and the reason I'm asking is because I know a lot of the conversation was on the test materials being too expensive. But I mean, what liability is it on us if you're paying $300 for test material and it doesn't align with
Right.
the exam?
Right.
No,
So,
and because I know they were asking for like reparation, but do you give reparation for you purchasing $300 test and you're not?
the only, if you give person A $300, then you need to go to person A for a refund if you don't think it was
Worth it.
or give them a bad Google review or something. But
Right.
you know, like we don't have any authority over there.
Okay, and I'm just asking for
Yeah.
clarification to put it on record.
Yes.
Okay.
So, okay, so we didn't have any other stakeholders, right? Put anything. Okay, well, we know currently okay, so I'm sorry. Next steps, plan of action is next on our agenda. So we are towards the end. So our next meeting is scheduled for April 19th at 9:30. We said we were going to start planning 2 meetings out. So, is April 19th still good for you guys that are here? Okay. And then I think I skipped ahead a little bit, but that's okay. I did. My apologies. So we're going to, y'all wanna get a May meeting down? Okay, so 19. So we could do we can't do the 17th because that's when the full board meets. But we could do the 24th. Okay. So we'll have May 24th. Now it's Memorial Day weekend.
That's what.
Okay, make sure everybody
Good, you here?
go and find a jet ski nowhere. Okay, so May 24th at 9:30 will be the meeting following the April meeting. So next meeting, April 19th, meeting follow that May 24th. I'll try to reach back out, or Regina, maybe you can help and reach out to the people we didn't hear from, because I really think it'll be helpful to hear from the schools and those associations locally to make sure we're considering everyone's input. We're making such a major recommendation for a decision.
Now, do you know on their website how often they're changing the examination? Because I was able to pull up like the item writing program. Do we know like how often they're putting out all of the multiple choice exams in these new examinations? Or do they recycle old?
On a test, on the exam?
Yeah.
Oh. No, I don't know. Like how, I have no idea. How often they're updating their study material?
Yeah. Or how often are they putting out new test questions? Is it like on a yearly basis that they're putting out these new?
Well, I know
test
they're in a
questions?
process, I know they're constantly cycling in new questions.
Mhm.
I'm about to say something, there's something about it.
'Cause I
Oh, and I know they recently changed it to go from the 4 items to the 3
To
items, and they're doing it slowly with the plan to be done. Do you recall when they said they planned on it all? Was it like a year, I think?
Another year.
Yeah. Cause they have to get those that are, those new questions validated and everything before they do a complete rollout, so I think it's a ongoing process of recycling questions. I don't know at what rate they do it though. My eye is jumping. So our next steps in our plan of action. So what we still had, we were waiting, so Kara gave us the information we were waiting on from her. We'll try to get some more stakeholder information. We'll check in with Michael on the states that have eliminated the exam and see if they've seen any impact there. We can, I think, look more into the alternative pathways. We could probably take some time during the next meeting to do that. Yeah. And that's it. And I think it'll just come time for, I think at that point, we'll have all the information that the committee requested to get to making some recommendations to the board if we have any, which I am anticipating that the group will have some recommendations. But I would like to thank Emily with the Baton Rouge Association of Black Social Workers, Will Francis with Louisiana NASW, and Dr. Livermore with LSU School of Social Work for taking the time to speak with us today and send information in regarding the exam. We greatly appreciate. So, and then I will make sure by the next board meeting, we remove the committee members who have not come to a meeting. And then that'll give us clear to go through when it's time for us to start voting stuff down. Did y'all have anything else y'all want to add or anything else you need to see or more information we need to consider? I think it's time to start making some decisions soon.
I did, quickly, because not everything, I did print out,
It's under my mind.
For the LPCs, they do have 2 test options. I tried to attach them, but they couldn't, they would not, she was not able to pull them up. But one of them is, multiple choice question. And then a second form of it is what's called a National Clinical Mental Health Counseling Examination. And it gives a scenario, base. And from the scenario, you're able to answer multiple choice questions based off of the scenario that is given to you.
With the multiple choice?
It still is multiple choice.
Okay.
But I guess it's just more exploring that, hey, at least they do offer 2 different alternative ways of an examination. Also, I spoke with, a Black female. She attended Xavier University in their counseling program. And she gave me just some insight of what worked for their program. She stated that they offered a comprehensive clinical class at the end of their semester, their last semester, that was a field experience, and it was based off of their clinical exam. So they were able to study and then take practice tests based off of the upcoming examination that they were tended to take. Now, with that being said,
That's based in their program.
for Xavier, yes,
Okay.
yes. Now, with that being said, unfortunately, LPCs have not released if there's any bias or what it looks like for any bias measurements. So I wouldn't know if Xavier has any test bias for LPC.
There's the same issue.
Yeah, so I do want to make that known. And I know we were exploring if there were any different alternative test measures. And I noted that Texas State at one point offered what was called the alternative method of examining competency program. And so what that was, is they noticed that their individuals were not passing the test, so they implemented some standards to assist for them to become licensed that wasn't based off of if they failed the test. So I put that in there.
So it was if they failed the test?
Yeah, I think it was like, let me go back and see. 2 or more times by no more than 5 points within the previous 12 months was one of the eligibility criteria. Now, they no longer have it. As of 2019, Texas actually standardized their field of counselors and therapists. And so when they went into the Human Service Commissions to Behavioral Health Council, they did away with the alternative program. And so right now it's back to the ASWB. So I did just, put in some of the information. So once we get to looking, if we want to look further into them to see the ways that they were doing. So one, participants must complete the professional portfolio. So I think it was, some papers that they had to write, some journal entries that they had to do, as well as, supervision.
That was with the Texas?
Mhm.
Okay. And so you said because they were integrating the different boards, that's why they went back to the ASWB exam?
That's, yeah,
Okay.
that's what I put.
Okay. I'm sorry.
And I also pulled for.
So I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Everywhere says the AMEC, that's the Texas thing.
AMBC.
Yeah, okay. Make sure anybody else doing it too. So if the person takes the exam within the previous 12 months and they failed it on 2 or more occasions by no more than 5 points, then they could get the probated license.
Yeah, but they also had other things that they had to do. So, and I thought I had it here, so if I don't have it, I can pull it back up and look to see. But I know they must complete the professional portfolio, submitted quarterly reports, and fulfill other requirements within the specified time frame mandated by the board. They had to submit some papers. Now, we also have to understand that now we're working into technology based, so you have AI programs that can shoot up a paper for you in a short period of time, as well as if professional journal entry.
My 12-year-old wrote a paper. I told her if she turned that in, it was gonna expel her.
So,
Like, you're not right.
well, I mean, it's out
Like
there,
the
so.
collegiate level.
Right, because when I was looking into it, especially with the journal entries, I put in like one of the AI systems where you can do it to say, hey, I'm a social worker. I just met with a domestic violence person, and can you give me a scenario? They shot it up. So I mean, we do have to put that into.
That stresses me out. I don't know.
Consider-
Okay, I'm not gonna go down the rabbit hole.
I'm sorry.
Making my anxiety rise. Okay.
And then also some past information about the state constructed exam in California, but of course, they had 17 years absence, but then in 2016, they went back to taking the ASWB exam. So I do want.
So you know why
to
they
note
went back?
that. I would have to dig deeper to see if there was
That's what I'm curious about. You know, like what was they separated from it, I'm assuming.
California?
Yeah.
I know that we had problems and some of the licensees that were coming from California.
Oh, yeah, that might have been something.
Licensure issues because.
Qualifying exam
They
here.
took a state exam, but it could be more to.
Okay.
Now, what I also noted with California, which was interesting, is that you have to take additional coursework. And
Yes.
so they outline especially what it is, so suicide risk assessment and intervention, provision of mental health services via telehealth, that's probably a new course, child abuse assessment and reporting in California, human sexuality, alcoholism, and other chemical substance abuse, aging, long-term care, and elder dependent spousal partner abuse assessment, detection and intervention. And I know when we initially met, Dr. Jamie, I know you stated that some individuals may not have like a diagnostic class for diagnosing. So that can, we can explore different options to see what else can be needed. And who can offer it. I know some states offer their own law and ethics course that you have to apply through the state and take and pass. And then you pay a fee to the state. You have to do the course, take a little assessment at the end of it for the laws of that state.
Okay. Like California.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, thank you. This is some really good information. It helps to see how other states are doing stuff. And, you know, really took the time to figure out, which is what we're doing, like what will be best for Louisiana. And I see you had the information about Minnesota on here too, so we were still gonna get it, yeah. Awesome. So, and I really like this. I actually, came across a person who had English as a second language. And they had been trying to take the LMSW exam unsuccessfully for a long period of time, and they were saying that, you know, the language barrier pretty much is what they attributed to having a hard time passing. And I was shocked to learn that it wasn't offered in Spanish. But I know they do a lot of metrics and everything, and they wouldn't necessarily be, there would be a big push to try to do that in so many different languages. So it's only offered in English. So I did like the information to see like what Minnesota was doing for people who didn't have English as a first language to try to help address that disparity. And so I think being innovative, you know, is something we definitely need to look at to, again, figure out what's best for Louisiana. So thank you guys. Okay, so we got a lot of great information as always. We're going to encourage our partners who are not able to make it today to review the recording, so we're all caught up. And do you guys want to, we have 27 minutes, we can end early or we can hear from the public. The committee's pleasure. Do you guys want to hear from the public?
Oh,
Or
yeah, we can hear from
it's up to
them.
you.
Yeah, please, sorry.
Okay, James Taylor.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning. First of all, I'm a first time attending your meeting, but I'm glad to hear some of the reports that have gone forward. I just have a couple of questions. One is a mention about the correlation between tests that's provided by the ASWB. Is that reflective of what the test says? I know there was mention about some of the information out there doesn't necessarily align itself with the ASB test. So does the sample test that's online, does it align itself with ASB tests?
I think that's,
It's a ASWB test.
yeah, so I can't speak to which tests align and don't align. And I wouldn't want to put information out there against another provider of the test. So
No, I'm speaking specifically about the ASB sample test.
right, so I've never taken an ASWB sample test, so I can't speak to it.
Okay, all right.
Put any information out about whether it aligns or not. I'm sure ASWB will say it does, you know. I can't say one way or the other.
Yeah, and I didn't take ASWB, and what the information I saw like on Facebook, it didn't say ASWB, it said other.
Other that
Says-
did not align.
Yeah, that
right.
did not align.
Yeah.
So I don't wanna, yeah.
Yeah.
Secondly, how can I be notified when these meetings occur?
They're on the website. So in the newsletter that is released by the board, it lists the upcoming meetings, and our meetings are always included. And then also if you go to the board website, LABSWE.org, under meetings, it shows when the meeting schedule is. So our next meeting is April 19th at 9:30. The meeting after that will be May 24th at 9:30. And again, that's available on the website and in the newsletter.
And the handouts are available in that newsletter as well?
I'm sorry?
The handouts.
The handouts are available in that newsletter?
Do we post the handouts?
Oh, not typically, but we literally received this information this morning.
Right.
So we didn't have time to put it on the website.
Okay.
So we can ask ASWB if we can.
Yeah, we will get, because ASWB sent the information directly to me, so we'll
Mhm.
check with them to see if they're okay with the information being posted. But I will say all the information here is on their website, it's just not consolidated in this manner.
And finally, it was mentioned about an alternative provisions for testing. Uh, what's the possibility that come into fruition?
That's what this committee, that's one of the things this committee will make a decision on.
Okay, all right. And that decision will be posted as well?
Yes, that decision will go to it'll be in the minutes, which will be posted, and it'll go to, the recommendation will go to the full board.
Okay,
And whatever that the board decides will also be reflected in the board's minutes, which is
okay,
available online.
okay. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Pamela Scott Goodman.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I was just wanted to share my experience. They may be helpful as well with the research and everything. I graduated from Grambling State University in 2013, master's social worker. Took the test 3 times, did not pass, kind of got discouraged and just had a 5-year drought, maybe 6 years. And I just recently took the test March the 1st and passed and received my license yesterday, March the 14th. So it's definitely been a journey. And just to hear that, something has been done to kind of help with the process of passing the test brings me joy, but I was really excited. I kept looking at my license. I couldn't believe that I actually passed, but I just wanted to share that for somebody who hadn't passed, quite some time.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Tamika Long Cohen.
Hi, I actually couldn't make it there. I sit on the committee. I live like 3 hours away though in Fort Johnson, Louisiana, but I'm glad I'm able to make it via virtual. My question is, I heard you all say regarding the LPC, individuals who have their LPC, that they had at one point in time, if they missed no more than 5, that they were able to receive a provisional license. Are they going to do something like that here in the state of Louisiana for those who are taking their LMSW exam and pass or miss it by 1 or, no more than 5? Because I know a lot of individuals who have taken the test like 3, 4, 5, 7 times, and every time they're missing it by like 1 or 3. And that's very discouraging. I myself took the exam last July, and I failed. So I'm scheduled to take it again April 30th. And so I missed it by 21. I know that's a lot, but I'm hoping that this second time around I'll pass it. But again, my question is, are they going to implement something like that for those who are continuing to miss it by 1 point? Because that's a lot to have to keep paying $230 or waiting 3 months. I know they can request if you miss it by 1 or 2 or several more, you can request to don't have to wait the 30 day or the 90 days to take it. But do you guys know if they're gonna implement something to help those who are failing by 1?
So that's one of the things this committee has an option to put forth as a suggestion. So this committee is going to be making those types of decisions.
Okay, thank you.
Virgie Jackson McKinley.
Hello?
Hi.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you want to make a public comment?
No, I made one earlier.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Uh-huh.
Michelle Norwood.
Let me say too far I forget, the references that Dr. Livermore referenced, can you, copy them and email them to us that she said she put in the chat?
Chat,
Okay.
we should be able to pull it.
Yeah, cause we can't see the chat. Huh? Yeah, okay.
I mean, you should be able to get.
Oh, okay.
Amy Brooks.
Hi, good morning. I was wondering if there is a way to reduce the retake time to at least 30 to 60 days, because 90 days is a little excessive to retake an exam. And upon being unsuccessful, after the expiration date, um, do persons have to resubmit another application to the board? We're redoing fingerprints, redoing paperwork, and things like that.
So with the resubmission to the board, is it after a certain amount of time they have to apply to take the test again?
Right, each time that they don't pass the exam, they have to submit a retake application. But it's not the whole application with the photo and background check, it's just a retake application and a $50 fee.
Okay. And then, what was reducing the retake time. Did ASWB recently do that with, I think it was
Yeah, that's ASWB's policy. If you don't pass, I think within 10 points, you can request that they waive the 90-day waiting period.
Yes, okay. Any other hands?
Try Amy Brooks again.
Can you see how many people we have on?
All right, online right now, 204.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, Amy, you still have your, there
Oh.
you go.
I only had it for you.
Hello? Ms. Brooks?
That's Nicole Mingo.
Yes. I wanted to follow up on, I think I heard several people comment on it, but if you are graduating with a master's degree in social work, is there any way to, yes, allow somebody to remain as a CSW and at least until they pass the LMSW, where they could seek out supervision from a LMSW? And maybe instead of requiring the 20 CEUs, maybe required to obtain more CEUs. And they had to have so many supervision hours per year. Because I love being a social worker, but we're seeing, and I've not just me, other cohorts have seen that many industries, many employers, they're requiring a LCSW when it seems like a person could practice on um, a bachelor's or a master's if you're registered as a RSW. Um, I understand the importance of being licensed and showing that you have the knowledge and capabilities of being licensed. But I think, you know, I think it's being lost in the conversation that it's hard to keep up a livelihood. We all have we have things we have to take care of financially, parents, children, ourselves. Is there just a way that, if you graduate with a master's, if instead of 3 years, just maybe outright eliminate the 3 years and say, hey, you'll stay as a CSW, you can practice on a master's level, but you must be under a supervisor, a LMSW at the least, And instead of 20 hours of CEUs a year, you have to have so many, and you have to have so many supervision hours, because that keeps the social workers competent, I believe, in the field that they're working, in the industry that they're working. Um, and I think it keeps Louisianians in the state instead of thinking about maybe I should move to another state. I'm not making it here. I think it would benefit Louisiana. I think it would benefit the communities in Louisiana, because I'm proud of my social work degrees. I have a bachelor's and a master's, and I'm proud of the education that I received, and I respect that, and I respect the field, and I respect people who have passed that test, the LMSW and the LCSW. But I feel that communities with mental health, especially with opiate abuse, and the traumas that we're seeing in our communities, not just all our communities, not just one demographic or the other, but everyone, especially with mental health. We need our social workers, and we need them, yes, to be competent, but we need them. And we don't want people, like I heard, say, I'm thinking about getting another degree. I've heard that with my cohorts. I can't sustain. We need social workers, and I feel like maybe this may be the best way. I'm hoping that you guys will look into that and make that a consideration. That yes, if you have a master's, you become a CSW until you pass that LMSW. You're required to have so many CEUs. You're required to have a supervision.
Ma'am,
Yes.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but we generally allow 2 minutes for public comment. And we want to give other people opportunity to speak. We only have about 12 more minutes left.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'm gonna start timing going forward, you guys.
Got it. Marcia Benz.
Okay.
Oh, she-
Okay, that's it. Okay. Well, thank you, guys. We love to hear from the members of the public. We thank you for your passion, and we thank you for listening into our meeting. So we are going, you guys didn't have anything else, right? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and end the meeting. We don't need a motion because we don't have a quorum. But again, our next meeting is April 19th at 9:30. And the meeting following that will be May 24th at 9:30. Thank you so much.